Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your healing journey, a part of your advancement and growth. And I want to thank you for being on that journey. As I've said so many times, most people are just not willing or even interested in looking into themselves and finding those places that could use a little extra energy. Here at Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you. Now, that doesn't mean that where you are is bad. It certainly doesn't. It doesn't mean that where you are is a place of criticism or a place of judgment. Absolutely not. What it does mean, though, is that you have the courage to acknowledge that there are places in your life that need that extra energy, that need that focus. And we all have them. We all have them, things we push aside, things that we'll talk about later. I mean, think about it. If you have one thing in your life that you will say, I'll get to that later, that's where you need your energy. Or when I have the time, I'll do that. Maybe that's where you need your energy. So that journey that you're on, that place, that willingness to look and see that there are places that need that energy, good for you. Good for you for being here. Good for you for listening. Good for you for investing in yourself. You know, we really make the greatest investment when we invest in ourselves. Even if we, are in the healing arts or serving others, we need to invest in ourselves. We can't pour from an empty bucket. And so when we invest in ourselves, that's where we grow that. That's where we come up with that capability. So good for you for being here. Thank you for listening. If this podcast is helpful, please share it out there. This is not private information. This is not something that I want to be the best kept secret. I want to be the worst kept secret. So share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these episodes come up. Share them. Tag me in it. I'd love to see where you're listening. I really would. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, then follow us. Make sure you follow us so that you get notifications whenever a new episode comes out. And give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platforms that people are listening. That way, then it puts it out in front of others when they're looking for this same information. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. As always, GraceLifeCoaching.com. That's where it's got all my contact information. You can schedule an appointment with me or reach out to me. I'd really love to hear from you. If I can come alongside you, help you ask some questions, maybe look a little bit deeper. If you want to do some coaching, I offer Reiki, meditation, sound bath. So these are some of the healing things that I offer. So GraceLifeCoaching.com has all that information. You can look it up. I'd love to hear from you. I really would. And I'd love to see what we can do together. Having a coach, having someone come alongside you, it's not a weakness. Many people think that having a coach is a weakness. It's not. It really, truly isn't. It's a gift. It's a gift to yourself. So if I can help out in any way, I truly would love to have the opportunity. So we've been dwelling in the holiday season. That's where we are right now. We're right in the middle of it. We're getting close. This episode will post like maybe 9 days before Christmas. We're coming up. Everything's getting worked up and amped up. So I want to talk about something that maybe might be a little bit pivotal. Maybe it's something that's going to help you today. I want to talk about something that sounds simple, but it's actually really radical in our culture, and that is slowing down the season. The holidays have a strange way of speeding everything up. The calendar fills up, the to-do list get bigger, the pressure increases, and then suddenly December feels like a race instead of a season meant to be savored. It feels like we have to just get through it. If you've ever found yourself thinking, I just need to get through the holidays, then this is for you. Because the goal isn't survival, my friends, it's presence. We don't want to just survive the holidays and get to the end and go, whoo, I made it. No, we want to be present in it. And slowing down is a great way to do it. Now, this is not doing nothing. It's about doing what matters. As I've said many times in these episodes, it's about being intentional. It's about having intention in what you do during the holiday seasons. Most of us don't wake up in November thinking, I want to feel exhausted and overwhelmed by mid-December. But we are in mid-December, and that may exactly be where you are. That's where we wind up. The holidays feel rushed because we try to pack in too much into a short window of time. We say yes automatically. We overcommit. We underestimate how much energy things take. We treat rest like something that will get later, after the events, after the shopping, after the hosting. There's also the social pressures. The season comes with expectations about how much we should do, buy, attend, cook, decorate, and give. And when everyone else seems busy, it feels almost wrong to slow down. But here's the thing. Busyness is not a badge of honor. We live in a world that says that the busier you are, the better you are. But rushing doesn't make the holidays more meaningful. It often makes them blur together from one day to the next. And slowing down isn't lazy, it's intentional. And it's one of the best ways to actually experience the joy this season has to offer. Experience the joy that this time of year has to offer by slowing down. And when we don't slow down, there's a cost. There's a cost to it, but it's usually paid emotionally. Think about it. We become short-tempered. We lose patience. We feel disconnected from the people around us. We stop noticing the small moments. We rush through the things that should be meaningful. We feel drained instead of fulfilled. If any of those things that I just listed are part of where you are right now, then maybe it's time to slow down. If your temper flares up too quickly, or doing something joyous and wonderful you don't have the patience for, then maybe it's time to slow down. Or if you feel disconnected from the people that are right around you, pouring energy into all these other things while the people that mean the most to you are longing for your presence. Or you're missing those small moments, those little things that make life meaningful. I've said this before, it's not the big things in life that make life meaningful. Yeah, we have big things and they're important, but it's the small things, it's the everyday things that matter. And when we're in a rush, we can miss them. We can rush through those things that should be meaningful. And then we just feel drained. We feel empty, exhausted, falling into bed at night, crashed out from a day filled with just draining ourselves bare. And you know what? The people closest to us feel that. They're the ones that suffer the most. When we constantly hurry, we're physically present, but mentally we're elsewhere. We miss opportunities for connection because we're thinking about the next thing on the list. And here's the sad downstream effect. When the season ends, when everything is done, most people feel disappointed, not because it wasn't perfect, but because they didn't feel fully lived. They didn't feel like they really enjoyed the season, present in the season. Slowing down helps us to shift from doing to being, from checking boxes to creating memories, from surviving the season to actually experiencing it. And isn't that what we want to do? We want to experience this season. We want to experience life. Don't get me wrong. All the things that I talk about in these seasonal episodes around the holiday season, we want in general. But it's this time of year that we seem to start to pay attention more because we are overstressed and over-budgeted and overwhelmed and over-exhausted. So these are the things that we can apply to our regular life. I hope that these are things you can carry out into January and February, but they're so important right now. And look, slowing down doesn't mean canceling everything. It doesn't mean retreating from the world. It means being intentional about how you move through it. There's that word again, being intentional about how you move through it. So what are some of the ways that we can intentionally move through this season? Being intentional about it. How can we slow down in real life? I know, one of the things that it's like, oh, this sounds like a great idea, but how can I apply this to my really real, busy, overscheduled life? So one thing we can do is creating space in our schedule. Instead of filling every free moment, instead of looking at your schedule and filling every free moment with something, leave breathing room. Leave room in your schedule. Make rest, make slowing down important by putting it in your schedule. It means being intentional about scheduling fewer events, building in a buffer time, one to the other. Give yourself space to rest. Give yourself space to breathe and space to dwell. You're allowed to do this. It's your schedule. You are not required to fill it up with everybody else's expectations. You are allowed to schedule time for you. Maybe that is a 10-minute schedule every day to breathe and look at your Christmas tree. Maybe that is scheduling a half hour in the morning to drink a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a cup of cocoa. Maybe that's scheduling time after dinner to take a walk or go outside and breathe in the air. Schedule time to breathe. And if you have to go back to back, make sure that you leave a little bit of room between each event. Make sure you leave room to dwell and decompress and recompress. So create space in your schedule. Another thing is to do fewer things and do them more fully. Rather than rushing from one thing to the next, choose fewer items and activities and be present at them. Think about it as quality over quantity. Rather than going to 10 Christmas parties, go to 2 Christmas parties and enjoy the 2, but then, make excuses for the other 8 or make apologies for the other 8. Doing less things with more intention. So doing fewer things, but doing them more fully. Being more present, enjoying the time more completely. Simplify where possible. Look, not every tradition needs to be elaborate. Not every meal needs to be perfect. Simplicity creates space for connection. Look, I don't know about you, but I know I'm going to be hosting a couple of events here, and they're going to be wonderful and they're going to be awesome. And I really do love to cook and I love to host. It's really fun. But what can happen is the presentation can get in the way of the connection. So simplify where possible. Simplify your traditions. They don't have to be elaborate. Most people just want to be together. And if together means, a store-baked pie or, getting a meal from one of the local restaurants, if that means you get to be more present with each other, then do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Simplicity and creates connection. And that's really what this time is about, is connection. Another important thing is being mindful with your technology. This is really big. We have this technology and it can be so distracting. It can pull us away. Phones pull us out of the moment. They do. We can be in the moment, but when we go to our phone, we're being pulled to another place, another time. We've talked about the comparison trap. That's one of the things that can happen. We can see others who are having the perfect Christmas or the perfect meal or the perfect party. And we're like, oh man, mine's not this perfect, so I must be less than. But the other thing is it pulls us away. It pulls us away from the moment. And when we try to catch back up, and it becomes hurried and disconnected. So slowing down sometimes means putting the phone away and being fully present with the people around you. Look, let's be honest. I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to offend or I don't mean to insult. That's not the point. But most of us are not as important as we want to think that we are. And I live in a job that I'm expected to be available, and I try to be available all the time. But that doesn't mean that I have to be on my phone all the time. Okay? If you live in a world where you're expected to be on your phone, you know it, and those around you know it. If you're on call, if you're on the healing arts or the front line or your first responders, that's one thing. But we are allowed to disconnect. We are not always as important as we think we are. If someone texts us, they're not required to get a response right away. Not every picture needs a like right now. Not every reel needs a comment. We are allowed to disconnect. And putting our phones away can help us to slow down and savor the moments and be present with the people around you, to be present in that moment and not be pulled around and not be pulled away. Those distractions can make us feel so hurried. Now, if you really do feel the need to check in, then make specific time, give specific parameters, then put it down. If you've got to be on Instagram, give yourself 5 minutes and then put it down. But being mindful of your technology, and that's the thing about technology, is technology creates this aura that we're just going to connect for a minute. I'm just going to look for a minute. But then you have like the 30-minute time gap where it's like, I'm just going to scroll for a minute, and 30 minutes later, it's like, wow, where did the time go? Be intentional about how you use your technology. Be intentional about what your technology does and where it fits, particularly when you are in the presence of other people. One more thing is to allowing yourself to move at your own pace. Look, you do not have to match other people's speed. You don't. You do not have to match other people's speed. Your pace is allowed to be different. You are allowed to enjoy and embrace the season as you do it. Okay? You are allowed to have your own pace. But again, be intentional. This is who I am. This is how I participate. This is how I act. You are allowed to move at your own pace. You are not required to match anybody else's speed, to match what anybody else does. We are all wired differently. And so for some people, having the chaos and the intensity, that works well for them. It feeds them. They love it. Not everybody is like that. You are allowed to work at your own pace. But here's the thing. Here's what's really important. I talked before about emotional boundaries and the importance of emotional boundaries. Here's what's important. Knowing what works for you. Knowing what feeds you and what throws you into chaos. When you know what works for you, then it's easier to be able to move at your own pace. When you know what works for you. So know your pace and then live into it. Be intentional about it. Now, one of the biggest challenges with slowing down this time of year, one of the biggest challenges with slowing down at all, but this time of year particularly, is guilt. We feel guilty saying no. We feel guilty when we rest. We feel guilty when we choose simplicity when others are doing more. We feel that guilt. It resides inside of us. But here's the truth of it. Slowing down does not take away from the season. It gives something back. When you're rested, present, and grounded, you show up better for people you care about. And so working through that guilt and realizing that this isn't some kind of laziness. This is you preparing, loving, and showing up for those who matter the most. You do not need permission to slow down. You do not need to justify it. You do not need to explain yourself to everyone or anyone. If you need time, if you need to slow down, you do it. You do it. Your energy is a limited resource. So protecting it is not selfish, it's responsible. And if you are working to protect your energy so that it shows up in the right places, then you are showing up well. And if that means that other things fall off, then so be it. Maybe they come next year. Maybe you'll go to 5 Christmas parties this year, and then next year you'll take the other 5 invitations. Be kind, be loving, share them. But you are allowed to protect your energy. It is a limited resource. It is your responsibility. No one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to protect your energy for you. So protect your own. It's not an act of selfishness. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the guilt of resting. Let go of the guilt of dwelling. Let go of the guilt of just taking it easy. Slowing down becomes a lot easier when we don't feel guilty. So let it go. It is okay. I'm giving you permission right now to let go of the need to hustle and dwell in your space and protect your energy. Don't let guilt drive you into places that you don't want to go. Don't let guilt drive you to do more, be more, buy more, shop more, cook more when you don't want to, when you don't have the energy to. This is your season, and you want it to be the best that it can be. And a lot of that means slowing down and allowing yourself the rest and the peace in order to enjoy it. Now, look, hear me when I say this. Slowing down is a practice. It is an intentional practice. You don't just flip a switch and it just happens. There's no Christmas miracle around this. It is a series of small, intentional choices that are made through a long period of time. I've said in the past, when we make change, when we want to make lasting change, there are small choices done over and over for a long period of time. Slowing down is a practice, and it doesn't always work. It's not going to be the magic fix, but it is something you can work on. Look, we're really late into the season now, so you may be at this place where you're overwhelmed and exhausted and overcommitted, but this season gets to come back around again. That's the joy of the holiday season. It shows up every year. Usually it shows up earlier and earlier every year. So this is a practice. And maybe this is something you can just begin to practice now, but really start to lean into later. So what are some of the things that you can do to really kind of begin this practice? I want you to choose one thing that you will intentionally slow down on this week. One thing. Just choose one thing. And maybe not just week, maybe just for the rest of the holiday season because once we get to Christmas, things really quiet down. Things really change. So think of one thing that you can do over the next few 10, 12 days. Maybe it's saying no to an extra commitment. You know what? This great new commitment came up and it really is great, but I'm already, feeling the pressure. Say no. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to explain it. Just say no. You can just say no. Maybe turning off notifications or putting your tech down during meals. This is a thing that we do in my house. There's no tech at the table. So phones go away, we eat, we dwell in each other's presence. So maybe turning off notifications during meals. Put your phone on airplane mode during dinner. Doing one activity without multitasking. We want to think that our brains can multitask, and they really can't. They just do multiple things not at its best. Okay, so do one thing. Don't multitask. Maybe it's one thing and not multitasking. Or go to bed earlier. It's so enticing to stay up for that next movie or that next episode or just a couple more minutes on the reels. Go to bed earlier. Be intentional. Maybe it's just 15 minutes. Maybe it's just 15 minutes earlier. Or enjoy a simple moment without rushing. These are some of the things that you can do. So I want you to choose one thing. I want you to choose one thing. I want you to write it down. I want you to commit to it. Treat it as important because it is. Not just because the thing is important, because you are important. Because through it, you will learn to slow down. You will learn to dwell in the moment. Because you should have a holiday season that feels grounded and meaningful and lived. We all should. Not rushed and reactive. And slowing down gives you the space to notice what truly matters. It really does. And what truly matters is the people around us, the connections we have, those that mean the most to us. So slowing down a little bit can really bring meaning and power to this holiday season. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. I really do. If it is, like I said at the beginning, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. Tag me in it. Share it. I'd love to see where you are. If you're on one of the listening platforms, follow us, give us a rating and review. And as always, if you want to reach out to me, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I really, truly would love to hear from you. At Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.